Yeah, yeah. Hit the mics, take a seat, it's about to ignite. Two dudes with the spread, keep your bets locked tight. Sports talk sharp like a razor blade edge. Numbers don't lie, no need for a hedge. Welcome to the greatest fucking show on earth. From the pitch to the court where legends birth. Plays and parlays, every wager's worth. Sit back, tune in, ride the wave of mirth. Game clock's ticking, we predicting the heat. Fast talk, faster stats, never tasting defeat. Breakdowns crisp, clear, a handicapper's delight. Rolling dice with insight under stadium lights. Feel the rush, odds crush and adrenaline flow. Front row seats in this betting expo. Chasing triumphs, breaking every curse. Welcome to the greatest fucking show on earth.
Hello, welcome to the Two Guys, One Spread podcast. The original plan for today was going to be Three Guys, One Spread, but Tommy got caught up, so I got a special guest slash arch rival here to talk about some fantasy dynasty stuff. We are getting to that time of the season, and I got Karl here. Karl, what's up?
Not much, Joe. Glad to be on to just talk about fantasy football, especially dynasty football. Something I dig the most, man.
Yeah, super exciting. Karl is my commissioner for two dynasty leagues, the one that we talked about a little bit before with our draft is going on right now. It's just it's a totally different spin. So real quick, I played a dynasty league. It started in 2006. We actually used that same website.
Right.
It was a little different in that we kind of did it by salary, which meant we kind of had to track it like manually.
Right.
Kelly did it. We did it for about 8 years, and I think it just became too much and fizzled out. And then you got me the invite into the one, and I was sure I'll get in. Like, I'm a fantasy junkie. I love it. And
Yeah.
it took me a season or two to adjust a little bit to this style, but
Yeah.
now I'm just back to be a contender, right? That's what I do.
It's yeah, whatever. Sure, absolutely.
So give us a
No,
little story about your dynasty experience and when you
well,
started.
I started playing fantasy football like in the early 1990s. I think my first draft pick was Jerry Rice.
Mm-hmm.
And you would just buy the USA Today paper on the Monday. You check the box scores, figure out how you guys did. The commissioner of the league would mail everybody, like snail mail everybody the results, and they come in like a dot matrix printer and stuff. And it was just, I loved it. I had a lot of fun with it. I even remember like arguing about with the league about, we need to get PPR, even when points per reception wasn't a thing,
Yeah.
And then it just got to be like just stale for me because it was like chalk. Everyone you drafted your players. That's it. Nobody really trades. Nobody does much of anything.
Yeah.
It's the draft your players, the starting of your players, and then it's the waiver wire. And it got to be, I needed a lot more. So I started kind of researching and getting into things. And I like the idea of dynasty football. And I am a proud Bills fan, Buffalo Bills fan. And for all the years that we stunk, I started to really get into the NFL draft. So come like even sometimes in October or November, I'm starting to look at articles and websites about like, and then predict, well, the Bills will probably have a top 10 pick. Who's available? Who do we need? And I really started getting into it big time. And
my buddy Tom, the guy that we're on with, is a Bills fan, right? Die hard. He's been season
Yeah.
ticket. It's in the families for the 70s. He's talked on here before how for 15 years, like that's as a Bills fan, that's what you look forward to. Come October, you're like, who are we taking? And you're starting
Yeah.
to do that kind of research, right? So
Yep.
he expresses the same sentiment towards the draft.
Yep. So I kept on, I had this, and I'm a game person. I love games. It doesn't, whether it's like, I know, we play poker together, whether it's gambling games or like strategy games or card games, or I just love games, and I love games because I like the strategy to it, right? Things growing up with like Risk and playing like with my sister and getting pissed and throwing just the Risk board or whatever. But that's kind of like how we played. And so I needed more to fantasy.
That explains a little bit of your sore loserdom when you lose to me.
Well, no, yeah. Anyway, so moving on, we had so then it was like I needed more. So I'm like, I found Dynasty Football, and then I like got into individual defensive players too, and I added that in, and I knew with Dynasty Football, it's literally year round. You have the startup draft, but then you have the rookie draft and everything. And I had one league that I called Alpha League, and that was my first league, and that was about 15 years ago. But I kept on adding more and more parts to it so that you can have more and more strategy. So I get the salaries, and salary leagues are popular, but I I they can get really complicated. So I thought, so I was like, well, how can I make it simpler? So I do contract. So, if you contract cap, you give players contracts, and even with IDP, everyone's always afraid, like, oh God, I do so much research with the offensive players. I can't imagine the amount of time they put into the defensive players. But really, it's kind of simple because the defensive players, you got to really, the players that get the most snaps are the most valuable, basically. Because they have the most opportunities to tackle somebody. So, and scheme is a big thing too. So, if you just know that, you can go from there. But
Yeah,
and my goal is to make sure that like every single player has value. So
yeah,
when you are in a draft or when you're talking about to somebody about a trade, defensive tackles in our league is a big time scoring boost. For tight ends, it's tight end premium, and it's even like 2 points per wide reception, which is more so than other leagues.
yeah.
So I think I've tried to do that too.
Yeah, you've done a great job of balancing out those positions. They matter, right? Like your standard fantasy. I mean, the industry trend. A lot of leagues have gone away from even defense and kickers, which I always argue, like, I know it's almost sometimes random luck for that, but it's still a factor and it makes it fun, right? Like when I get
Yeah.
17 on the kicker, I'm like, yeah, baby, that helps this week, even though
Yeah.
it's almost like random luck. But the
Right.
dynasty is it is a whole new animal. I actually did one in college as well, where we got the results in the mail. And we did have individual defensive players, which back then no one ever did. This guy would like send it to us on paper and he would chart the tackle, and it
Yeah.
was like crazy, but it was like a whole different spin, right? Like now I'm watching, like rooting for the lineman to run down and make a tackle.
Yeah.
Um,
Absolutely. I remember actually one of the first one of the championships I won was I was down by, and this was Alpha League a long time ago, and actually one of the guys in our other league, Dominic, was the guy I beat.
yeah,
And there was a linebacker for San Francisco, and he was like, I forget his name. I wish I remembered his name, but it was Monday Night Football, and I'm absolutely getting killed,
Yeah,
right? And it began with an N, and he was a decent linebacker. He wasn't the one that's going to go into the Hall of Fame, but
yeah,
he played with him. I forget again. This is a bad podcast. I don't have the names up, but so I was watching, and he was the only guy I had, and I went to bed, and I won the next day, and he literally had an interception that he ran for over 100 yards to win the game in overtime, and our friend Dom was watching it, and he was so not Hardy Nickerson, I forget, I'll look it up, but anyway, but that's fun.
yeah.
Even though you have like just a defensive guy, you still are watching both sides of the ball and you're really involved in it.
I I think for your regular guy that does fantasy, uh, a look into the dynasty type thing
Yes.
is it, especially like I said, it does take some time, but it's like anything. Like you can find time. You know what I mean? Like if
Right.
you want to do it, you could find time. I mean, I get it. I got three kids. They all play sports. I coach two of the teams. I have a regular job. I I find time to do it. You know what I mean? Um,
Yes.
my favorite part is that I like the off season almost as much as the season. Like you feel like it's the closest thing, I guess, to being that general manager, right? Like I'm looking for
Right.
the coming guy, and can I get him and get him for a couple years and find that diamond in the rough.
Right.
It's outstanding. I love it.
I do too. The guy's name was Navarro Bowman.
Oh, I remember him.
He
Absolutely.
played next to Pat Willis,
Yeah, yeah.
and it was crazy. No, I catch myself sometimes uh, watching the Senior Bowl.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just to see the players. Or if I'm surfing, I used to actually watch more of it when the Bills were bad. But when I'm surfing TV and looking for something, I will sometimes turn on the the where they it's in Indianapolis,
Combine.
the combine. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
My old brain is forgetting these things. I still watch it, and it's just fun. And you're like, oh, that guy decided not to throw, and you're like, you're judging him for that. And no,
Con-
it is. It's a blast.
Yeah, we are in the throes. I was just saying to Karl before we jumped on here, we're about halfway through this is the initial player draft.
Yeah.
So this league is starting up brand new. Nobody has anybody on their team, and you're going through and you can draft any player other than rookies, right? Any
Right.
player other than rookies. And we're halfway through, and it's an email draft. So again, you basically select either through the app and then it sends out an email, but it's like one at a time and you have a certain amount of time to make your pick, and it's outstanding. Like every day I wake up and I'm like, oh, how long before I pick, right? And then I got guys that I'm looking at, and as they come off, I mean, as they come, I'm driving home from work and something pops up, someone got picked, and I'm like, oh, we're one closer to my guy.
I mean,
um
how often do you check your phone? During it, I check it at least a dozen times or
I
more
know. And the
during the
best
day
part is,
at work.
even though I know, even though I'm going to get a notification when someone gets picked, sometimes I still open the app and I check the draft, and I'm like, I don't know why I'm checking. Like I would have got notified if, but
Exactly.
it
Yeah.
just you can't help yourself. And the other part is, like you said, the strategy is it's just so much greater, right? I mean,
Yeah.
guys are like linebackers have the same value as receivers and running backs. Like
Right.
another day from your linebacker is huge. So it brings so much more strategy kind of into it, and where you want to go. I mean, for example, in our draft, not only is it different positions, but because it's dynasty, the age of the guy makes a difference, right?
Absolutely. And I'm big on that.
There are guys in our league that like players that I feel have went a little bit later, like not a little bit later than normal, even later than I thought they would have. Like I just grabbed Bobby Wagner and I'm like, I can't let this guy sit anymore. I know he's 35 and I'm
Yeah.
probably signing him to a 2-year contract when the time comes.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's still a tackling machine. He's still playing for a really good team, so I feel like he'll be motivated to come back.
Yeah.
And he doesn't look like, there are guys that went before him that are definitely not, I don't think, will outperform him. But, you may be able to sign those guys to 4 or 5-year contracts or something along those lines.
No, I agree. And back to the email draft, I do love in-person drafts because you get to see everybody and everything. You get a few in you, you're feeling a little, there's always the guy who makes a drunken, stupid mistake, and you can like capitalize on it.
Yeah, go
But
draft your favorite team, right? It's a couple
yeah,
rounds early.
yeah. But I mean, we're kind of high stakes, I mean, it's quite a bit of money we're putting up. We all have lives and families and kids, and you know, at different stages, and the plus the email draft. You really are able to research and take your time in your research. And again, like you mentioned with the strategy, kind of just make those strategic thoughts, and go for it. So it is better, even though I do like it. Maybe I can convince people to do a in-person draft for a rookie draft. But anyway,
Last year we got in our other league, we got a couple of the guys together to go out golfing because you're
yeah,
right. It is fun to have that interaction and do all of that. Obviously, this draft is 30 some rounds, so it's not realistic, but it would be great for the rookie one. Just so we know, because I'd love to have you on again later at some point. We're currently how many rounds in? 14 maybe?
I think so. I can check right here. One second.
I
Oh, and
think we're
I did want to mention too about the youth and young. I will I will take my preference is like second year players or
yep,
third year players. I think the key to dynasty is to to pick somebody the year before they break out and get rid of somebody the year before they stink. You
yep,
know, like if I had Saquon Barkley, I might, I might have like traded him after last year. Because he's going to regress. He's
yep,
older, and you could get a haul for him too, because somebody's going to do that.
yep.
So I like that as well. Yeah, it's round 16, so
Round six.
we're about halfway through.
All right, so
Uh,
on that, let me go to the draft real quick. What are your thoughts on? So on, let me go. So I took Derrick Henry, right,
yeah,
in the 4th round. What were your thoughts on that pick?
that's a little rich for Henry. He's awesome. I love him. I have him in the other league,
Yep.
but he's got a 3-year window, and that's it. You know what I
Okay.
mean?
So
So he is the bell cow, though. So that's like there's a trade off, right?
yeah,
There's not many running backs that we know of that play as much or get the ball as much as Henry.
yeah.
You
So
know,
two other factors went into that, and again, this is where we talk strategy, right?
right?
Um, he he is he is known for his off-season workouts and his preparation and taking care of his body. So there's a part of me
Yeah,
that thinks I get a little extra out of him
yeah,
than I would maybe a normal back. And the other part is because I drafted last, right? In this draft, I'm going to be first in the
yeah,
rookie draft,
yeah.
in which I'm going to take a super young running back is where
Yeah.
I'm leaning
Yeah.
towards.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, I thought, you know what? Let me try and pluck this guy. Hope I get, maybe 2 monster seasons out of him, and then I could be able to,
Yeah.
shed him and still have a young guy that's,
See,
hopefully build up to what he's supposed to be.
so what you mentioned is an example of how I added strategy. A lot of dynasty startups, they include the rookies in the draft.
Yeah,
But so if you're picking, I picked third in our draft. You pick 12th. So now, like you said, you're not gonna get the Jaden Daniels, the Lamar Jacksons, the Josh Allens. You got to think differently. But so now you have an advantage in the rookie draft by far,
yeah,
right? And like you said, what rookie you're going to take. So that furthered your decision with
it
Henry, which is good.
definitely played a factor into it, right? I'm like,
Right.
I can still be young at this position. Now, again, whoever I pick has to be successful. Um, but it most certainly was a factor. But like I was saying before, at some point I'd love to have you on again. So I mean,
Yeah.
we're not done here, but we are 16 rounds in, and a couple things kind of jump off the page. I said Karl has yet to draft a running back, right?
Yes, I have.
16 rounds in, we'll see where the strategy pops up. We're going to revisit it maybe halfway through the season. I'll have you on, and we can revisit that.
Sure.
Uh, and see where that goes. I definitely think now there's another guy that has one running back. So that certainly goes into the strategy.
Yeah.
Um,
So
Tight end. I know I was missing out on a couple top tight ends, and then there were a few others that kind of were going off the board. And I was like, all right. I wound up taking Zach Ertz, who I know is a 1 to 2 year
right.
fix. There's still, I feel there's still a couple guys I can get that'll give me some value. Like Travis Kelsey, I think he went really, really, really late.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and he's
That's the age thing, and his
the age
and
thing.
his
He's
play has gone
oh,
down too.
what?
His play has gone down too. It's
Eh,
not just age, but he is not as good as he used to be.
he, I know, but when we say that, he's not as good as the greatest of all time because he still
What?
had 97 catches for 823 yards and
Yeah.
three touchdowns is not a lot. But let's be honest, touchdowns can be very fluky.
Right.
I mean, last year Trey McBride had what, 2 or 3?
Yeah. No. But again, so
He's gonna have
statistic.
more than that. He's gonna
Yeah.
have more than that.
He's going to have it's going to be a positive regression. And I do have McBride. I selected McBride. Tom actually, I wanted Brock Bowers, but Tom selected him right before McBride for me.
Yeah,
And but that's how I want to play it. So we do have one offensive flex and a super flex. So
yeah,
everyone plays two quarterbacks because they by far are the most valuable position in our league. So, and we play three D line, three linebackers, and three DBs. So with the three D linemen, you can select, you have to play at least one D end and one DT, but the third player could be either. So because defensive tackle is a premium and tight end is a premium, my plan is always to start two defensive tackles and two tight ends. So as much as I possibly can. So tight end in Dynasty, there's two guys, and that's it. So I got one of those two guys. That's tier one. For that position, it had the small in what I've researched, it had the smallest number of players in tier one.
yeah.
There was only two guys, and I got one of the two guys. And he's young, and the youth is important, etc. And for tackle, D tackle, I've already drafted three of them, so I can play around with it. But the thing about D tackle is you have guys, you have only a handful of guys who are really, really good, and everyone else isn't. You know, so I think that that's a premium position in our
Well,
league.
I was going to say that certainly has to play a little bit because if I look at our if I look at like the highest scoring defensive players, they're not D tackles, but
Right,
the couple D tackles versus the rest of the field is big, right?
right, right.
I I will say this: there was about a week before the draft, I was strongly considering taking Brock Bowers in one of those in the 12, 13 spot. I really was
He would
because
have been good. He would have been good. I'm telling you.
I mean he his season last year. I mean, again, I'm like you, like I'm a loser. Like I love this stuff. Rookie tight ends struggle. That is a very tough position to come into the NFL and be
Yeah,
successful with, right?
yeah,
How many? I get a list off 20 guys that were supposed to change the position, revolutionize it, right?
yeah,
Pitt, Vernon Davis, like all of the Evan Ingram, these guys were supposed to come in and change it, and so few of them, not almost none of them did, right? And
right.
then Bowers came in, and he actually, I mean, he actually did. He was
He's
incredible.
not
I was really close. I was really close to taking him, and I just
right.
didn't pull the trigger. And then once I knew once when I saw you take McBride, I knew you wanted Bauer, so I was like, okay,
Yeah,
there's
I know. I wanted Bowers, but with McBride too. Well, and Bowers, they had nearly 30% share of targets.
yeah.
So their quarterbacks are finding them almost 30% of the time. That's huge. You don't get that. And I think if now McBride, it took him 3 years to really turn on like he did. But if he had the same touchdowns as Bowers, they'd be even. It's just a matter of the
Which,
touchdowns. So,
and those touchdowns will bounce back, right? Like touchdowns. I mean, they're not completely fluky, but they certainly can be, right? Like, you
right.
know, guys have seasons where they have 18, 19 touchdowns, and then they'll come back and it's eight, and that's much closer to the norm than than the 18 that happened out there.
Yeah, I mean, I think his one touchdown, he only had one, and it was the last game of the season.
Yeah, he
And
definitely
it was like,
it was
have you
stupid.
ever heard of a tight end who started as many snaps as him, got as many targets as he did, and ended up with only one touchdown? That was insane. So it's got to go up. But
Well,
regardless, I was
okay,
happy with my pick.
but well, okay, so 2023, he had 83 receptions, 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, yeah, I
Last
know.
last year
Maybe.
he had 111 and 2 touchdowns. He did have two.
Okay. All
Um,
right. Yeah. No,
but
that's.
but I agree. I feel like that number
I hope so.
has I don't. One, he plays for the Cardinals in the Seahawks division, and two, you got him, so I'm not rooting for him. How's that?
Yeah. Here, I'm going to see. I want to take a look at the draft report, and I want to take a look at your team and see who I like and who I thought was like, what the heck is Joe doing here?
Okay.
All right. Oh, I keep on forgetting your ridiculous team name.
No, no. That's just the way it is.
Uh, I think Robert Spillane at the seventh was pretty big. I'm curious as to that. I do love my favorite pick of yours, though. Most
Yeah.
certainly was Brian Branch in the ninth.
Okay.
I love Brian Branch, and you
So
waited a whole long time to get him back. But Spillane, I'm not sold on. New England linebackers scare me. They've never really been. You can have a great one, but they don't score. And I think Vrabel has the same kind of defense that has been there forever. The Bill Belichick kind of defense.
So the thing that I mean, his defenses were pretty strong in Tennessee, right?
They were strong defenses, but the linebackers, they don't use them. You know, it's kind of like you think of Gerard Mayo, you think of all of those great linebackers they had. What was the name? Was it Highsmith or
Yeah,
I forget? Yeah, they never scored. They were not scoring linebackers. I'm not sure scheme wise why they'd not, but it was an interesting pick, and I could be wrong for your very first linebacker. That's for sure.
there were a couple guys out there that I wanted that I think got picked before me. Um, I think that I mean I don't know is again we'd have to go back and look. Could a factor in that be? Could a factor in the Patriots historically not scoring well there? Could it be the fact that Brady had the ball so much? Could it be the fact that they were winning and other teams aren't running, right? Because they're losing. Teams are losing.
I hear what you're saying,
No,
but for defense, so much of it is scheme. So
yep.
much of it is scheme. I mean, you look at a safety. The reason why I love Brian Branch so much is he's all over that freaking field.
That's
You
well.
know, he's not just a center fielder waiting for the ball to come or whatever.
That's why I took Buda Baker, right? Because
Yeah,
I
he's been a good one.
I watched him play Seattle twice a season, plus not to mention other games because they're in Seattle's division. I'll watch, and I'm like, this guy's everywhere. I mean, he had one game last year, the assists factored in, but he had a game where he had 20 tackles. I was like, this is
Yeah,
this is just insanity. He's just everywhere. So I
and
I,
and
I
he has he,
a couple of guys.
their defense stinks too. He's the only guy. He's
Yeah.
basically the whole defense. So yeah. I you also were curious about my Jack Campbell pick. So again, this is the kind of strategy or whatever that I do. So you got one of the youngest linebackers, okay? An absolute athletic freak, a drafted in the first round. Teams don't draft linebackers in the first round much anymore that play off ball linebacker. They do for, on the line and rushing the passer, but not for an off ball linebacker. Plus, at the end of the year, he was, Anzalone was
Yeah.
out. So
Yeah.
he played and he had the green dot. So when he was playing, he was getting, I mean, his efficiency, tackle efficiency, everything. So again, I'm predicting that he's going to have that this year is going to be his breakout year. He's going to be the middle linebacker like he's supposed to be. Anzalone will be sitting on the bench or whatever,
Oh, yeah.
and go from there.
I mean, I I had Campbell in our other league at one point, and I was like kind of waiting it out because I read all this and I was like waiting it out and waiting it out for him to get his shot. With linebackers, sometimes that's what it's about, right? Like getting your shot.
Yeah. Yep.
So part of me with that New England was they had so much money to spend. And I really thought that Vrabel was going to come in and like he's picking guys like he's got the money. He's getting guys that he wants to be there that are going to be involved, right?
Yeah.
So it'll definitely. I mean, again, I think linebacker and a couple of these defensive positions they can vary big time, right? And like you said, it's about playing time and scheme
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So
and and
definitely,
with linebacker too is they're getting rarer and rarer. There's a lot of defensives that are only playing two off ball linebackers
yeah.
now. So there's different schemes out there. So and not all of them play all of the snaps. So that's the reason why I think linebacker is an important position too.
Yeah, and it's funny how I mean just an example of how much scheme can matter. Uh Last year Seattle signed two linebackers, right, in the offseason. And I was like, right, this is exciting. Mike McDonald, first year coach, defensive guy, bringing his guys in. Like, their defense struggled to start the season. Halfway through, they cut Dotson, right?
Yeah,
They cut Karl Dotson, and middle of the season, right? And
that's right. I forgot.
they wound up trading for Ernest Jones from Tennessee. And Ernest Jones, he was in with the Rams, signed. They traded him to Tennessee. Obviously, Tennessee had him half a season, and they didn't love what they saw. Traded him to Seattle. He fit in like a glove.
Right.
Dotson just got cut, gets picked up by Miami, and he has an outstanding season. And I see things where he's ranked very highly as a
Yeah.
linebacker.
Yeah.
And it's just
No,
like,
I
how did one team deem this guy? I can't even have him on the roster. I'm cutting him. We're gonna have to take a hit, and then another team could pick him up, and within a few weeks, he's playing great.
yeah.
So
No. It's huge. It
all of
is.
that stuff does really fit in.
But and the other thing is like even when you're talking about New England and with Vrabel coming on board, that's the level of thinking you do as a dynasty manager.
Mm-hmm.
You don't do that level of thinking in redraft. You know,
No,
you're like, okay, the scheme's coming on, the new coach, this is what he did at Tennessee and he had these, but you don't think that way in redraft. You just kind of people just go chalk.
and,
It was like depending on whatever cheat sheet you got, that's who you
yeah,
you
like I used to. So I'm in one league, which is called. You probably couldn't get into. It's called the expert only league. You got to be an expert to. Uh, um, and I'm the current champ, just for the record. But my brother runs it, and he used to be like we would do an in-person draft, and
yeah.
he would be like, no, he would say that there were no computers allowed, right?
Wow, that's cool.
Have it, and I'm trying to think. I feel like we might have even had. Did he not let you bring cheat sheets? Like his big thing was like, yeah, no, you no, because he's like, the cheat sheet. He's like people just go right off of it, and I'm like, I like a cheat sheet, but I only like it so I can cross guys off and
Yep.
easily, and this is like a redraft. I can easily see all the positions, even on the computer. If I got to go from tight end to receiver, I got to click. Whereas if I have a sheet of paper in front of me, I can cross them off. But there could be 6 receivers taken, and I'm taking the guy that's ranked 19th because I like him, right? Like
Right,
that's
right.
so like I'm not that guy, but I know there are guys like they have that list, and they're
Mhm.
like, oh, the 7th guy went. All right, maybe I'll go to 9, but they're not going way down there. You know what I mean?
No, they're not. And that's the thing too. In redraft is kind of easier to predict, right? You kind of I mean that's why the only thing you can't predict is injuries.
Yeah,
You get an idea as to target shares or whatever, and if a rookie comes on board, it's very rarely that they'll like tear it up the first year, right? I mean, like Genty is going to tear it up, and there's no other running back on that freaking team, I think,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So that's about it rarely happens. So it's just kind of like it's easier to predict. With this, it isn't as easy to predict because you just I mean you bet on youth. You're betting on if they're gonna how long they're gonna be on your team, and you're hoping to keep them forever. Like I'm going to give Jaden Daniels an 8-year contract because I don't want anyone to touch him when he's done.
What? So just I just gonna have you weigh in on this. Me and my buddy. Now, what's your opinion? What's your opinion on Daniels and the Commanders for this season? Not fantasy, just as a team.
Okay, so I think they're going to be good, and I think they're going to be good. I am not sure that they're going to be playoff good. I think what I'm worried about isn't this coming year. It's the following year because they're losing so many of their skill position guys that all of their contracts are up in 2026. So you may just have Jaden Daniels and I don't even know who else, Diami Brown or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Some guy that, but even, Scary Terry is his contract's going to be up. Are they going to
Right.
keep him?
Yeah.
There's a lot of things. So,
I mean,
so Debo Samuel's only a 1 year contract. He's only 1 year. So,
yeah, my concerns with it. So my buddy Tom thinks they're going to be really good. I, I'm closer to what you are. I don't think they're going to be terrible, of course, but they are in a very tough division. Uh, Second year quarterbacks scare me a little bit. I remember as a rookie, I'm watching C.J. Stroud, and I'm like, dude, this
yeah,
guy's sick. Last year there was some struggle bus a little bit. Like they get film and they see exactly what you can and can't do,
right.
and like that part worries me a touch. Not to mention they won at least two, if not three games last year that were like pretty
Yeah.
pretty
Yeah.
unlikely. Like
Yeah.
they lucked into them, and again, a win's a win in the NFL, right? Like your record is what you are what your record says, as Parcells used to say. But you watch games and you're like, wow, that team is, they're catching some breaks, and I think they might come back just a touch. They're not getting the Hail Mary play, and they had one comeback versus the Eagles, and again, it's outstanding, but it's just not the norm.
I hear what you're saying. I have a lot more confidence in Jaden Daniels than CJ Stroud. And yes, CJ Stroud, it was surprising. But CJ Stroud is strictly a pocket passer. That's it. Daniels runs.
Yep,
So when you have a running quarterback, I have a lot more confidence in that quarterback because I mean, look at the guys I have. In our other league, I have Lamar and I have Josh Allen. I literally believe that running quarterbacks are the cheat code for our fantasy football leagues, and I think because of that, defenses have to take that into account. They play them differently, and it's harder to understand the quarterback's tendencies. A pocket passer, you're going to get to know their tendencies, and then defenses can do a little bit better for the most part, I think.
yeah,
Brady did fine. Tom Brady was still the best, but
sure.
but but it's just for some of them, I think it's a little easier.
I think for the I what I think it does, I think with the running quarterback, it is just your floor, right? Like very rarely do you see a really good running quarterback have like a horrifying fantasy day, right? Where you're just like even if he only throws one touchdown
Right.
and one touchdown in 160 yards, which most of us are going to say is pretty bad. Uh, he's probably picking up 5, 6, 7 points, which might get you to the 12 or 14 point range, which you're like,
Right.
it's not great for him, but it's not the death. You have a guy like Goff who throws one touchdown in 160. He's not chipping in that other part. He's getting you. If he throws a pick,
Right.
he's getting 8 points or something, and you're like, holy cow! Like
Right.
how do I stomach and live with that? So
No, I hear what you're saying, but and you think of running quarterbacks in the past or present, and really the only one that's really not good is Anthony Richardson. Every other running quarterback now they're going to definitely get you double points easily.
yeah,
I mean, even what's his name from San Francisco? He ran a little bit.
Purdy.
Yeah, Purdy ran a little bit,
Yeah,
and then he ended.
he picks up those sneaky ones, right? Those
Yeah,
sneak.
and that's important. That helps for fantasy football. Anybody like that, but yeah. So I'm happy with Daniels. I think he's going to be great. I'm not, I don't think even when he runs, he's not like RG3. RG3 would run into people and he thought he was like 50 pounds heavier than he actually was, and he just Daniels is a smarter runner.
Which is super important, but it is every time you're running, you are putting yourself at a little bit more risk, right?
Right.
Like,
Absolutely.
I mean, I'm from Buffalo, diehard Seahawks fan, but I know a million Bills fans. With 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 Josh Allen, there was a time, where I'm like, dude, why does this guy keep not just running the ball, but like trying to pick up that extra yard, and they're winning by 21, and I'm like, man, dude, it's just it takes one wrong
Right.
land on your leg, right? Or, something bad to happen. Like, I always thought that was Russell Wilson was good at that with Seattle. He would get in the early years. He stopped running towards the end because I think they wanted him to. But he would get 9 yards, first down, he'd get out of bounds. And I'm like, you know what, that's great. Do it. You pick and choose, right? You're in the depths of a playoff game or a really big game in the fourth quarter and you maybe got to lower your shoulder. You're a football player, you do it, right?
Hmm.
But I just think there's times when it's 3rd and 6 and you've run for 14 yards. You got the first down. Like, live to fight another day and not take that shot. But Josh has not gotten hurt, so
Yeah, he's resilient, thank goodness. But
yeah, he's
it's going to
tough.
be a fun year. I think. I think our league is shaping up well. Another thing that's important is that you get good players, and I think between the folks I know from my leagues past that are with us, and everybody that's kind of been brought on, like Tom, from Bayou. I think they're smart. It's like
Yeah,
one of the reasons why I haven't picked a running back is I have these kind of secrets, but they got picked.
uh,
So I'm like, oh well.
that,
But
that, that,
but
that,
I'm
just, that just happened to me like 2 rounds ago. I don't remember. I'd have to go look.
yeah.
But there's a guy. I was like, dude, I am gonna sneak this guy in, and then I was like, oh man,
He went
fuck.
so early. It is, I can't find him. I will find him. But the thing about running backs is like in the other league last year, I had Derrick Henry. So I had one solid guy.
Yeah,
And I didn't draft anybody else. So what I did is I would take guys who were like second fiddles
hmm
and hope that that somebody gets injured and sure enough, one of those second fiddles was Chase Brown.
yeah.
So, he carried me to the
He was,
fight or to a high place in the playoffs. And those kind of guys exist with running backs. You just
yeah,
have to pick them out pretty well.
yeah,
And if you're not getting one of the top three guys in Dynasty, I mean, not including CMC or Derrick Henry
yeah,
in Dynasty, the young guys,
yeah.
you really just might as well wait because the rest of them are going to share time. Jordan Mason.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. He just
Jordan Mason was taken in the 13th round. I was hoping he would last to like 15th or so. But yeah, I think he's going to be sneaky good.
Yeah, I was actually hoping to pick him up because I drafted Aaron Jones. Again, he was a guy that I was like, man, I don't love him, but again, knowing that I probably only need a season out of him or two if I'm lucky, he's serviceable. I was gonna look to get Mason, but he did
Yeah.
go early. So all
And
right,
for folks who may not know, he's the second running back for Minnesota, and they got him from
San
a
Fran.
free agent from San Francisco.
Yeah.
So what's the coach's name? I forget.
For
Kevin
who?
O'Connell.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So O'Connell knows him already.
Yep.
He likes him already. He runs the same system as O'Connell, and O'Connell knows what the hell he's talking about. He's doing a freaking good job. So, I think Jordan Mason's going to be really good this year.
All right. All right. So as we wind down here, this is your opportunity. We are going to go, we can go one or we could go both. But right now we're going to put, are you willing? I mean, you should, there's some pressure on here. Are you what are our bets going to be? Let's bet each other. Let's bet each other lunch, right?
All right. Okay.
Lunch on we can do you can do one league, you can do both leagues, and then I need you to decide how you want it to be. Do you want it to be who goes farther in the playoffs, who has a better regular season record? I'll let you pick because I'm that confident. Fantasy God over chicken all day.
Okay. So it's Almighty Chicken, by the way, and
Oh,
there's not just chicken;
uh,
it's Almighty Chicken.
all right,
All
okay.
right. Let's go. You have. I don't want to do overall record because somebody catches
Yep,
the worst team that all of a sudden catches fire, and
sure.
that doesn't necessarily share that it's the best team.
Well,
I think what we should do is highest points for. So
okay.
which team has the highest points?
So I will say that's always my default, right? Because I'm just like you, right? The point
Right.
is every week I am setting a lineup to try and score as many points as I can. At the end of the season, if you ask me who is the best fantasy team, I'm going to ask you who scored the most points because that's what you're trying to do. So I am on board. That's this new league, the startup league.
Yeah, let's do the startup league. It'll
All
be
right,
fun.
starting
Um,
fresh from our startup league, we will throw lunch and we'll say two beverages on it of your choice. How does that sound?
that sounds good to me.
Man,
All
I
right.
can't. I'm about to go in and tell my family I just won lunch. I'm super excited.
Yeah, well, again, this is talk is cheap, buddy. You gotta step up. You gotta
Listen,
step up.
if I enjoy so in our other league and this one like we have a thing on our website where we can put videos out there,
Yeah.
correct?
And you're
The
very good at it.
and I enjoy doing it. My kids get involved. Karl, no lie, the other day I'm watching fantasy baseball. I'm watching baseball, and my youngest daughter comes in and she's like, "How are you doing against chicken?" She's 9, right?
In,
She just
in
remembers
fantasy baseball.
the chicken video and the banana video that I made when I was smashing the driveway. She loves, wants to make videos all the time. She just thinks I play chicken like every week.
That's because you obsess over me because I own you, buddy.
No, stop it.
That's why your
I,
children know about me.
I won the last game. I'm going to win this bet, and it's going to be great. So,
Oh well. Oh,
all
this
right.
is
Well,
fun,
listen,
Joe. This was
I
good.
I really appreciate you coming on. For any of the listeners, if you've never tried Dynasty and you got questions, reach out. You guys all have my cell phone number. Reach out, and if you got a couple minutes extra in your week, take a chance and try and get in one. I actually thought about starting up another one at some point with people that like to listen, just because I think again,
Oh, yeah, that's neat.
I
Yeah.
think it would be fun, but I think give it a shot because it is a whole different spin on it, and it's a ton of fun. I got a couple buddies that are like, "Dude, you're absolutely crazy," and I get it. Some people they like it, they don't love it that much. I always have, and I probably always will. So
Very cool.
cool. I
Uh,
appreciate you coming on.
yep.
For all the listeners, you guys know we are on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. As we cruise towards the end of our draft, I wish you luck. Real quick, one more thing, Karl, Bills fan. What's the Bills record this year?
I'm going to go with what the line says. I'm going to say that they get 13 wins.
Okay.
I think the books know it very well. I think I have a hard time. I would never bet under on the Bills, but that might be a good bet only because betting under is the best bet normally. But
Yeah.
yeah, I would go 13. I think they hit it. They nailed
They're,
it on the head.
they are really good, and Josh Allen's unbelievable. My
Yeah.
Seahawks, man, they get killed a lot in the media. I try not to have those glasses. I'm pretty optimistic. Their defense was strong at the end, and they've added the pieces that they want. Huge overhaul in offense.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sit here and say that Darnold is a billion times better than Geno, but their offense had issues. It had some serious issues. I wanted to, I'm not exactly crushed that DK's out the door.
Right.
We'll see. We'll see if Cooper Kupp can give them a little bit. If he can stay healthy, I still think he's really tough to cover as a receiver.
Yep.
And they need better offensive line play. But man, I read some things where people hate their offseason. So
I work with a guy who's
yeah,
from Buffalo who loves the Seahawks. And telling you, his name's Andrew. I'm not going to say his last name, but I
yeah,
walk into his office and he has a little like remote control mouse or wireless mouse, and it was a Seahawks mouse. And I said, "You're a Seahawks fan?" He goes, "Oh yeah, I've loved them since a kid." I said, "Where are you from?" He goes, "Buffalo." I said, "Oh my God, I know a guy."
yeah.
Obnoxious Seahawks fan. Obnoxious, period. But he's a Seahawks fan on top.
Oh, he sounds great to me. I love this guy.
No, you're obnoxious. He's a
Oh,
good guy.
all right. All right. I will agree with all those points.
All right,
So
buddy.
I appreciate it. Signing off. Thanks for coming on, and hope you have a wonderful night.
Hit the mics, take a seat, it's about to ignite. Two dudes with the spread, keep your bets locked tight. Sports talk sharp like a razor blade edge. Numbers don't lie, no need for a hedge. Welcome to the greatest fucking show on earth. From the pitch to the court where legends birth. Plays and parlays, every wager's worth. Sit back, tune in, ride the wave of mirth. Game clock's ticking, we predicting the heat. Fast talk, faster stats, never tasting defeat. Breakdowns crisp, clear, a handicapper's delight. Rolling dice with insight under stadium lights. Feel the rush, odds crush and adrenaline flow. Front row seats in this betting expo. Chasing triumphs, breaking every curse. Welcome to the greatest fucking show on earth.